who treated him like a show star. She behaved normally with him and that made him feel comfortable with him. SRT would say that PC brushed his hair whenever he looked wrestling and treated him like a normal person. Though they have appeared only in Dawn franchising, but they have always said that they had unique friendship.
Haaland, introduction to Manchester City today of exactly what I think we'll see throughout the season. It'll be harder for him in the first half, but so many times in City over the last couple of years we've said, where's the centre forward to get that goal in the first half? And last season I think there were a few games where they didn't score in games and other things like that. He's just a top player. I'm not going to mention him in the same sort of breath as the sort of the Brazilian Ronaldo or as Zidane. What strikes me when you see someone like that, it's almost like the superhuman in the sort of strength of their body. I said before, he's like Drago, where he just sort of picks people up and throws them to the side. Or the Bond villain Jaws, that it's almost unfair.
Yeah, it's usually fictional, but this is fact.
it feels unfair to have that much pace, acceleration, strength, ability. And it becomes so much more difficult for everybody else. There was a moment in the Community Shield last week where he went in that right channel. He just nudged Andy Robertson, who I couldn't speak more highly about over the last 4 years as a defender. And I thought, that's the Van Dijk and Robertson channel he's just done that in. And he got his shot away and it was saved. So there were glimpses last week, but what we've seen today is the real thing. We've seen it happen in front of our eyes, and it's a sobering thought for the rest.
I'll go on to the other games, but could it be the story of the first weekend that he started here with 2 goals, 3 points, and delivered when you'd give him a few weeks to get into his stride?
Yeah, because we were waiting for everyone's thought about the connections, the De Bruyne to Haaland connection, and we've seen it today. And we're only at the very beginning of that connection, and that's the scary thing. We see Gundogan play that pass in the first part of the game and slide it through to him. There are so many instances in that game where they've not seen his runs still. Imagine when they start to see his runs all the time. I remember the striker that I always remember at United, Ruud van Nistelrooy, who was, didn't have as much pace as Haaland, but he's a brilliant striker. Sir Alex used to say, there's only bloody Scholes in it can see his runs. The rest of you are numpties, that type of thing. And he was right, because the relative is his runs were so subtle and clever, and they're so often. They've got a few more to be fair that can play, but he said Scholes the only bloody player that can see his runs, and that's why Scholes, and Beckham could see him from wide positions in the crosses. But at the moment, there are people on that pitch for Manchester City who've been used to playing with different types of strikers, not even strikers at times, false nines, over the last 2 or 3 years, who are just getting used to having a centre forward again. And Sergio Aguero was very different, very, very different than sort of Erling Haaland. So all their brilliance in the last few years and the rhythm and the patterns of play that they've had are altered slightly by this introduction of this monster of a football player who sees things differently, he wants it a little bit earlier. You always think of Pep's teams playing that extra pass in the final third. He wants you not to play that extra pass and play it early. So there'll be that sort of what would be that transition and combination of the Pep style, but with Erling Haaland in there and sort of adapting to that we're going to see. And we saw it today, the best of it with the 2 goals, but also there were occasions whereby he didn't just quite get it through to him, and people didn't see the run early enough or the pass early enough.
I'm going to move it on to the other half of Manchester, but I'd like you to consider it in 2 phases. Brighton winning at Old Trafford, and deservedly so, the way they played, and Manchester United under a new management with 1 or 2 new faces, and Cristiano Ronaldo being involved in the end, we thought he might not be. You've sat up here, almost where you're sitting now, and watched the game on the monitor. What were your conclusions?
I wasn't surprised, Martin. I think I showed you a text that I sent an hour before a game that a friend had sent me and said, what do you think? And I said 2 things will happen here today. Brighton will be the better team, and Manchester United will just get over the line, maybe through Cristiano coming on and scoring, or Brighton will win. I just thought that for the promise of pre-season, that Brighton are a better functioning team at this moment in time. They play good football, they find pockets, and Manchester United have got the same players that we've seen in the last 18 months, 2 years. And the reality of it is that we've seen the same type of performance. The only question today was whether Brighton could take the chances and score. And they did. They scored 2 goals and should have maybe the penalty in the second half. So for me, the outcome of the game was exactly as I thought it would be an hour or so before, as I thought it would be yesterday. And the reason I say that is that the players that Erik ten Hag has been delivered at the start of the season as his squad have proven last season and the season before. The season before, the fans weren't in the stadium. When these players had 75,000 fans in the stadium or they played in front of crowds, they've not been able to handle the pressure or have the ability to demonstrate that they're good enough for Manchester United. And it's not just Erik ten Hag, it's been with Ralf Rangnick and it's been with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. For Erik ten Hag to be delivered that squad on the opening day of the season is unacceptable. So let's be really clear.
And Martinez played, didn't he?
Yeah, Martinez played. And to be fair, he did some good things, but there was also a couple of tough moments. I think, the first goal where Welbeck just makes that running behind him in a couple of weeks. The Premier League is very different. I saw great players for Manchester United take a few weeks, a few months to get used to it. We see Manchester City players taking a few months, a year to get used to it, certain aspects of the game. The penalty in the second half, he might not get away with that in the future. Patrick Evra in his very first game against Manchester City, made a couple of mistakes like that. So, no reflection upon the new player that played, or is Eriksen played as well, so new players. No reflection really for me upon the coach. The coach, to be fair today, has probably seen what it is. I think that's probably smacked him right between the eyes today. We've had promising pre-season. The thing is about those lads, they're really good lads, some of those lads in that dressing room. They actually want to play for Manchester United. They give their all every single day, but they're not up to it. They're not up to it, and it's been proven over a period of a couple of years. And I say, for Manchester United to be handing their manager, their new coach, having seen so much evidence over the last year or so that those players aren't up to it, that squad, I think, is unacceptable. It means they haven't got the business, and that doesn't mean to say in the next 3 weeks we won't see Manchester United do business. But is the money there that's needed to not be able to get Frankie de Jong? This is more than Frankie de Jong that Manchester United need to be able to overhaul the sort of mentality and the performance levels of that squad. Is the money there, and can they get the players over the line? Because what Manchester United are in danger of, or could be in danger of in this next few weeks, is acting desperately. Because obviously after a result like that, they've got Brentford away next Saturday and they've got Liverpool coming to Old Trafford 2 weeks on Monday. And that's a painful one. You know what it's like when Liverpool come to Old Trafford, when City come to Old Trafford. If you want to highlight problems, and they will highlight problems because they're just so good. So, no reflection upon the players. They're there. They're soldiering on. They're doing what they do. It's doing what they've done for the last year or so. They're giving the same levels of performance. They're too easy to play against. Roy Keane said it today, but I said it last season. Manchester United, I think, are the easiest football team that I watched to play against in the league. And that's not changed in the last 4 weeks of Erik ten Hag's coaching. And it won't do. There's something inbuilt in them that means that they don't quite get it. Their front players don't get it. I've highlighted out here today Bernardo Silva, a player that maybe wants to leave Manchester City to go to Barcelona, and Cancelo sprinting back 2-0 up with 5 minutes to go. I don't see that enough from Manchester United. And they just don't have it in them at this moment in time, those players, and they need help. The coach needs, he should really be going in to the executives, to the board, to the owners tonight and saying, we've got to spend some serious money and we've got to go and get those players now. Now, the problem is, everybody knows when Manchester United come and knock on the door next week, they could be desperate, and the club don't want to come across as desperate. They want to try and change that approach, and I actually completely support that. But they shouldn't be in that position, because we've known for 8 months, Martin. You've known for 8 months. I've known for 8 months. Everybody at Manchester United and the fans have known for 8 months, and everybody in football has known Manchester United needed an overhaul with players going out and players coming in, and they haven't got their business done. And others are getting their business done. And you have to ask the question, why? That question has to be asked. I'm not going to go overboard, but there is an element of negligence when you don't do the business in the transfer
and it's
market.
ended up with a result that's not a surprise. I mean,
Oh,
Manchester
Martin,
United
honestly,
rarely lost at home when you were playing, and obviously
Martin,
that's a long time ago.
I showed you that text partway through the first half that I'd sent an hour before the game. That was exactly what I expected to see today from Manchester United. Brighton being functionally, tactically, technically better, and more confidence and belief. I expected that, absolutely. The only thing I thought was, we're not Brighton alike. They've lost a couple of players, and they lost a couple of players, by the way, as well. Basuma and Cucurella are the best players, maybe. We always know Brighton create chances. We always know Brighton play great patterns of football, but we always ask the question, can they get those goals? Can someone finish them? And quite often when we see them, they don't. And that was the only doubt I had today. Would they score the 1 or 2, 3 goals that they would need to win the game? Or would, ultimately Manchester United be able to get over the line through being the worst team on the pitch performance-wise, but just having more firepower because they've got Sancho, Rashford, Cristiano Ronaldo, etc. And that's what happened last season at times when they got over the line in many, many games. They were the worst performing team, but performances in the end will harm you. Sorry, results will harm you when your performances are continually at a low level. And out of possession, Manchester United are at a very low level. I've watched too much of them, Martin. I've watched too much of these good teams. I'm here every single week. You are.
Well, let's talk about
desperate.
another very good team, Liverpool. Darwin Núñez, they've done what looks like very good business. I was Community Shield last week. He scored a very clever goal and an even cleverer one against a very good Fulham side back in the Premier League. And Liverpool will be the first to admit that they were given a really tough game.
They were very good for them, weren't they? I mean, that was probably the surprise of the weekend. And, I think during the week, again, you do these sort of interviews and you maybe sometimes lazily just think, I actually said it, I think, that there's only once, I think, in Premier League history that the 3 teams that have come up have gone back down. And I think this season it could happen, Notts Forest, Bournemouth and Fulham. But looking at Fulham yesterday, and you think, Bournemouth obviously as well. You look at Fulham yesterday, the level of that performance was high, the football was quality. And they look dangerous.
And Mitrovic, of course, is a handful in international
he's a
football.
handful.
Yeah.
Look, Núñez is a handful, he's a menace.
Yeah.
When he came on, he was a menace and a handful, he was very good. But, all I would say is 12:30, sunny, in London, first game of the season. But it's been sunny here today, West Ham against Manchester City, and you've seen what the top team can do. Fulham yesterday deserve a lot of credit for performing like that, as do Brighton today. But I actually thought Brighton would perform like that. Graham Potter's had his team performing like that for many, many months and a year or two now. But I thought Fulham were excellent yesterday in that game. It was a real surprise. And not just that, to be able to keep coming back. Obviously Liverpool scored, and then you just think, all right, they're going to... But they didn't do. And they kept going, and I thought it was very promising for Fulham. And maybe sort of us expert pundits that we're supposed to be, we don't really know much about it, do we? When we think about it, the fact of the matter is we're saying that they're going to be in trouble. But if they perform at that level, they're going to pick up a lot of points for them, and they'll be dangerous. Craven Cottage used to be a very difficult ground to go to. I remember playing against Zaha and Boa Morty and thinking that's as tough a game as I've ever had as a centre-back. Playing against a championship team, I think, at the time, and they were in the FA Cup, and they came up that next season, and Zaha scored against me on the first game of the season at Old Trafford. So Fulham have been that difficult place to go, that awkward away team in the past. Can they be that this season?
What about other parts of London? You were at Crystal Palace on Friday night to see Arsenal regenerated, if you like, by Gabriel Jesus and company, Zinchenko, others who they've done some business. We're talking about maybe Manchester United not doing business. Arsenal have done their business, and Tottenham have as well. Chelsea are still doing business, and that's a 3-pronged London attack on the northwest of England, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, I actually obviously saw Arsenal, and I watched the Chelsea game last night. I didn't see Tottenham, and haven't seen Tottenham yet. But
4 without Kane and Son scoring.
Yeah, and I actually. During this week, I've said I actually think Tottenham are third this season. I just think that they're going to be a very solid outfit that are going to have consistency. The manager they've got, the signings they've made, suit the manager that they've got, obviously, because he's clever enough to bring the players in he wants. Chelsea, I think, was really important for them to get over the line. It was a difficult one, always going to be awkward. Everton not having their strongest team out was obviously a factor in that as well. But Chelsea have a little bit of instability in pre-season that's been highlighted by me and others. I think it was important for them to get that win. Arsenal thought that they were... The thing about Arsenal Friday night is they played football that was absolutely sensational. Actually, for 15 minutes, better than the football I've seen here today from Manchester City. That's as high a praise I can give. In that first 15 minutes, it was electric. But actually, because of the 4 players they have in those forward positions, I actually expect that Martinelli, Saka, Ødegaard and obviously Jesus. It was that second half that I was more interested in. They were kicking towards the end that I was at behind that goal with those Crystal Palace fans going mad, and the pressure was building, and the Zaha sort of runs one-on-one were more and more, and they were going deeper and deeper, and I thought the full-backs for Arsenal were getting put under big pressure, but they withstood it and they got through it. Now, it's only obstacle and hurdle number one in the season. But it was really important, having what happened last year against Brentford in the first game of the season on Friday night, that they got through that hurdle and that they could get the confidence coming out of it. And then obviously then they can start to build the confidence about the fact that they can keep clean sheets, they can withstand moments of pressure. We've seen City here today come up against West Ham in that first 15 minutes of the second half. Difficult moment, they withstand it, and then they go and get that counter-attack killer goal. And that's what Arsenal did. They scored at a perfect time, 10, 15 minutes to go, which just kills the crowd, kills the game. It was a really good night for Mikel Arteta. And I said after the game, the second half will have pleased him more than the first half. The first half, he'll expect those talented players, who we know are talented players, to play good football. What he wants is that those talented players, in the moments in the game that are difficult, support those back six and make sure that they're a compact unit and you can't get through them, because that's how they'll qualify for Champions League. Last season they fell apart and they were flaky and they wilted at the difficult moments. That was a good start for Mikel Arteta in terms of correcting that failure that they had last year.
And Jamie Carragher, who's commentating with me, loved Saliba, gave him man of the match. And for a debut, a 21-year-old playing in the Premier League as a centre-back, there aren't that many of them, are there?
No, I referred to it as an early Rio Ferdinand type performance. And you know, how I said that was that he reminded me of that. You know, comfortable on the ball. He's not quite got the
swagger.
Yeah, no. What Rio Ferdinand had in those early years, if you remember, his body wasn't quite connected at times to, I don't know how you say it in a kind way, but you just know that he'll get stronger, he'll get more wise, and you know that in 3 years, he's going to be a hell of a centre-back. He's a hell of a centre-back now, but when you see him in another 2 or 3, 4 years' time, like you say, to play centre-back in the Premier League, and I actually think Crystal Palace is one of the toughest grounds to they ask a lot of questions of you, the forwards of Crystal Palace. It's not always patterns of play, but it's one-on-one, directly at you, challenging you sort of physically, running in behind you. They do that all the time. And he did really, really well. And it reminded me of a young Rio Ferdinand. I said that after the game, that you just know there's development in him, and that only going to get better. Interesting for Ben White, how he's going to cope, obviously being pushed out potentially to right back. But that's the way of the world. You know, they maybe have to be a more compact back four on that right-hand side.
Chelsea, a lot of changes behind the scenes. What did you make of it? Was an attritional game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Goodison.
Yeah, it was a game probably you expected in terms of, Chelsea signing players, still signing players. A little bit of dissatisfaction in pre-season. Tuchel's been a little bit sort of at times critical. Need a centre forward. Obviously Lukaku goes. So there's still questions over Chelsea. Maybe I'm doubting them too much and a little bit, but I just feel as though they're not quite smooth, they're not quite satisfied. Since that sort of Abramovich situation has come to light, even from the Lukaku situation last season,
and the defenders wanting to leave,
and the defenders obviously all been out of contract and leaving.
Yeah.
You've had that situation that they just felt as though it's been difficult for the manager and the squad, because these are senior players as well. The defenders are senior players. Lukaku's a senior player, and obviously the owner of the club's the most important figure. So they've had these big incidents and events to be able to have to deal with. And that's natural then that you feel a little bit less sure about Chelsea. I was last season, early parts last season, thinking they could run Liverpool and City really close. And obviously it sort of fell away. But I still think they had a really good season in many respects. They were so close in the cup competitions. I thought they were outstanding in Madrid. And to be fair, so unlucky. And Madrid just typified how they dealt with the Champions League full stop and went on to win
Luka
it.
Modric with the pass of the season did them.
It was incredible. Yeah. So you think about they were so close last season in difficult circumstances. And I know that Chelsea fans are probably thinking, well, yeah, but we've signed Koulibaly, we've signed Sterling, we've signed Cucurella, we're getting players in. But it just seems a little bit more sort of like...
Where are they going to bed
like a pinball type, so your head's moving, where's it going to be next? And you're not quite sure. You watch obviously a team today that are absolute machine in Man City. Chelsea are not at that phase yet, as you'll tell, and new ownership. So I think that it'll take a little bit of time to settle down. So the question's still there, but it was a good start and a really good win. One thing you have to do through these moments to build confidence and shut everybody up, people like me, is win. That's it, win. You have to win football matches. Good players at big clubs have to win football matches. If you're Manchester United today, City have won today. They've won well. But the headline tomorrow morning, what's it going to be? If you're a big club and you don't win matches and you lose at home against Brighton, Manchester United are going to be front and central, I suspect, tomorrow because you get put under pressure. Same with Chelsea at the back end of last season. They were on the front pages and on the back pages. That's the way it rolls. Football's massive in this country. So as a big club, you're under pressure, you get asked questions. As players, the only way in which you can deal with it, and as a club, the only way in which we can deal with it is to win. And that keeps everybody quiet. And if you're not winning, there's the problem.
Last question, really, just generally about the season going forward. It is a unique season, 16 rounds of the Premier League being squeezed in. Are you getting any sense as you go around the place that this has got to be dealt with differently, or are they just going to play the games and, we're 16 games now and we'll go off to the World Cup and then we'll come back when it's over?
I think that, and I said this probably 8 to 10 years ago when Qatar were awarded the World Cup, if we're really being fair, forget the way in which it was awarded and forget the fact that which country has got it. If we're really being fair, the World Cup should be hosted on each continent fairly over a period of 20, 30, 40 years. So in 20 years' time, 24 years' time, there should be another World Cup in the Middle East. There should be. And you cannot play football in the Middle East in the middle of summer. The way in which FIFA dealt with it...
Hard enough to play here
absolutely.
in the middle of summer.
Martin, I mean, this is child's play, really. At 27, it was 31 on the pitch side. You go to Qatar in the middle of summer with the humidity and 40, 42 degree heat, you've got players in a whole heap of trouble. Not just that, Martin, you've got fans in a whole heap of trouble. And you saw how uncomfortable it was for some of the West Ham fans over there in that first half when they had they'd made these sort of temporary hats out of the banners that they were holding up. So every 24 years, we're going to have this disruption in the season if it's fair. And FIFA made the big mistake of saying it was going to be a Summer World Cup and they were going to have these air-conditioned stadiums. I never thought that could happen. I've been to the Middle East since 2002 on a regular basis. You cannot play football in that heat. You cannot play football with that humidity. It's dangerous. So every 24 years, we're going to have this. So this is the first time it's happened. First time a Muslim country has held a World Cup. Let's get our heads around that this is something that we're going to have to get used to. Not every so often, but every 20 years. And I think that, to be fair, the players, I have to say, the players nowadays, they play so many matches. They play so many months. You know, it's 2-3 weeks off in the summer. It used to be 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks. It used to be 3-4 months, maybe in the 70s and 80s. You know, we used to have that cricket and football and separate seasons. That's just
you could play both, couldn't you? Professional.
Yeah. That's just merged into one now, whereby football doesn't feel like it's stopped, where it's just continually going on. And players, to be fair, are resilient. They get on with it. They do their jobs. They're professional. And I have to say, in terms of the Premier League, we're seeing exceptional standards. We really are. In the last 12 to 18 months, we really have seen fantastic management, fantastic tactics, fantastic football.
And a short pre-season has led to a very entertaining first weekend.
Absolutely. And we look forward to next weekend now. Off to Brentford on Saturday. And then Monday Night Football, Liverpool and Palace.
I'll see you on the road.
Yeah. See you around, Martin.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks.
CoffeeZilla's new video on Tate's scam. What? I didn't see CoffeeZilla posted a new video. Oh, 4 hours ago. Oh, this is bold. Shaking the hornet's nest of the Tate enthusiasts, of the top G's. He's got a death wish. Yeah, we can check it out.
Today, I'm getting a PhD from Hustler University, also known as Hustlerversity by those of us with the grind set. It was created by this guy.
I'm Top G. You think you're smart? I bought this coin and it's going up. You could have bought any coin and it went up in the last year. The Matrix was broken. Hustlers University is the greatest thing.
Ooh, I've actually heard that a lot. The Matrix is what does that mean? I've seen like a lot of YouTubers say that recently. What does that mean? Like, that's ravings of lunacy that I would have heard back in the day. But now a lot of people are saying it unironically. I don't know what it means. The video goes into the Matrix being broken? Oh, okay. I might be getting ahead of myself then.
That exists on the face of the planet for people who are trying to escape the Matrix. Become Hustlers University. Welcome to the metaverse. Inject it into your brain. You can skip university, you can buy my program, and I guarantee you will know everything you need to know. Have you ever seen a college professor with an S63 and a McLaren and a Lambo and an Aston Martin standing next to a Porsche? No, you've never seen any of this. I know how to make cash.
Now, if you're wondering why I'm enrolling in a college that looks like it was started by the son of Mr. Worldwide, it's actually quite simple. Hustleversity was started by Andrew Tate.
It still blows my mind that this became a real thing. I remember, and I think we did it on stream, when we were going through the alpha male rabbit hole, I remember we watched Hustler University's promotional piece, and all of us were making fun of it. And now people unironically enrolled and bought into it, drank the Kool-Aid. It's crazy that it actually popped off. That is the power of marketing on TikTok. If you just put enough money into TikTokers, people will always buy it. It blows my mind. Their promotional piece for Hustlers University is still like one of the goofiest ads I think we saw for all the alpha male shit. So if you have like a startup business or something, invest in TikTokers. And put that money, like that marketing budget, into TikTok. 100%.
And I guess the real question is, how did this happen and why? Well, Andrew attributes his meteoric success to a change in business strategy.
I put together a particular strategy about 6 months ago because I decided to step up my overall exposure because of a new product I launched. I run an online school that teaches people how to make money online. I changed my approach towards social media, and I ended up absolutely everywhere.
Now, if you're wondering what business
true.
strategy that is, or the program he runs is called Hustleversity, where he teaches you how to make fast money if you'll only pay $50 a month. And one of these fast money methods turns out to be selling Hustleversity to new people by posting clips of him, Andrew Tate. And
It's so smart. The cope on Twitter I see all the time about how it's not an MLM blows my mind. This is literally it works. It's pyramid. It is actually it works. But you can't say that when talking about Andrew Tate for some reason. They really take great offense to it. There's no shame in it. You know how many people, buy into it works? And the essential oils and what are they called, the fat tapes or something, where you're supposed to like wrap tape around your body or something. I forgot what the other big pyramid was. Herbalife, another one. I don't know why they won't just be like, yeah, I bought into an MLM. Like, just own it. Like, I mean, just fucking own it. You're basically promoting him now, I guess. And that's the problem with Andrew Tate. No matter what you say or what you do, people are going to believe it and get into it every single time. But this is just too interesting not to. I haven't actually seen someone dive deep into Hustlers University past just making fun of it. CoffeeZilla dissects things that he talks about really well. So I'm super curious to see everything that he learned. So yeah, on this one, I'm just going to accept that there's going to be a few people in chat that for some reason buy into Hustlers University. It is what it is, man. I really want to see the analysis from CoffeeZilla on this.
Andrew Tate is the one true savior that will save you from poverty. He's basically Morpheus from the Matrix, and that's not even me calling him that. He calls himself that.
I get called Morpheus a lot. We are living inside of the Matrix, and I am Morpheus.
He says he wants to wake you from your mental prisons, all by selling you a program that sounds like what high school dropouts used to put as their education status on Facebook. Attended the School of Hard Knocks and graduated Hustleversity with a PhD. Wait, you're a doctor? No, that's the pimping hose degree, which is something, by the way, I didn't make up. It's a course that Andrew Tate himself sells. But I don't think you want to take advice from someone who's in the middle of a human investigation. And that's not even to mention accusations of beating women. Or him allegedly
those accusations could happen to anyone.
Was, quote, Andrew does have one undeniable skill that seems to be responsible for most or all of his success so far. He's just really entertaining.
I hate everyone equally.
I've said that since the get-go. He is the most entertaining clown you can find in the alpha male space. And that's why it's probably worked so well. Between TikTok promotion, the MLM stuff, and just him being so enjoyable to laugh at, it's popped them off. Wild. You think the guys paying for this think it's a joke? I think there's a good balance of people who pay for it, like ironically, like, haha, I'm part of Hustlers University, and people who actually believe it. And I think the believers probably outweigh the former, which is sad, but it is what it is. It's the same for every other alpha male we ever looked at. You remember the guy who's a self-admitted cuck? Oh, fuck. It's only been a couple months. It's the big guy. He sells the course on, like, so your wife doesn't want to fuck you? That's okay. No, I'm talking about alpha males, bro. Is it Jack Murphy? It might be Jack Murphy. Oh, yeah, Jack Murphy, right? This he's literally a cuck. But he's also an alpha male. So he's teaching you how to be an alpha male while also being a cuck. It's this guy, right? A lot of these guys kind of all look the same, like bald and a beard. Is it this guy?
Don't come at me and call me sexist or racist or any of these things. I hate everyone. I don't care if you're black, white, straight, gay, man, and woman. I hate you anyway. Do know how to administer CPR. However, I will not administer CPR unless you're a hot female. If you're some fat dude and you just had a heart attack and I don't really know you,
Is that lady billing you and you back and rearrange your bones? Why is it being massaged for a full hour straight, bro?
I have a lot of muscle. It's painful to carry around. It's a 2-hour massage.
People are starting to realize that the only real currency is attention.
Clout.
Like,
Oh,
the worst thing that's going
damn.
to happen to
Same
you is
thing.
not that you go to jail. The worst thing that's going to happen to you is you
Irrelevant.
become irrelevant.
Yep.
And this is what separates Andrew Tate from a lot of the fake gurus I've covered in the past. Jones and Tate operate sort of on this playbook where entertainment is king. They say a bunch of outlandish statements that builds attention, and then once they're the crazy guy, all they have to do is say a few basic things that everyone agrees with, and then their audience suddenly thinks they're a genius. I mean, everyone
That works
has-
for everything, by the way, not just people. This is the same thing with QAnon. Like, QAnon has the wildest shit, like believing JFK Jr. got revived and is still any day now gonna cruise around some random corner in fucking Washington and announce his presidency. The reason they have so many people is, well, I guess the big reason is everyone wants to believe something that makes them feel special. But another thing is they also then put in some things that are true. Like, there's a lot of pedophiles in Hollywood. It's like, oh, well, it turns out there are a lot of pedophiles in Hollywood. I guess QAnon's right about everything else. It just becomes like a gateway. So you sprinkle in like little truths for the lunacy, and then you get people to buy into it. So it's not. It works for more than just like individuals. Everyone knows who Q is, right? Fuck man, I've heard so many different reports on who Q is. I couldn't tell you. Is it one of like the Clintons or something? I don't remember. There's so many theories on who Q is. It could be fucking anyone.
I think that that's what makes society function. I think that's what makes the world function. I think that men and women falling in love and having children and having families are very, very beautiful things.
Well, who doesn't agree with that? And he'll talk to like men's issues. He'll talk about how lonely men are.
Yeah, sad
Most
men.
men are absolutely and utterly invisible.
I was just about to fucking say that. I paused too late. Yeah, the whole most men not being invisible. You're not invisible. Men feel invisible. This and that. That's everywhere. That's a really big platform for alpha males right now. I see that shit all the time. I think, what channel was it? Is it Sneeko? Sneeko's been big on, like, all men feel invisible now. Like, that shit is all over the place. So, like, all of them kind of regurgitate the same points because it's really effective.
This is the truth about masculinity, right? It's very easy for women to sit here and complain about the top 2% of men because I dealt with this guy, he's arrogant, blah, 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 blah. Most men don't even exist. They send 10,000 DMs and never even get read, let alone replied to.
And so this makes it so that the many people who are trying to say, Andrew's just crazy, they don't see the full con that he's running because the crazy is only half of the game. Because eventually people hear the other half, the basic stuff that's obvious, and go, well, he's
That's just
not
tough
totally
love.
crazy.
Yeah.
And people just eventually kind of go down the Tate rabbit hole where they think, maybe I can leave the Matrix and get girls, jets, and Bugattis. Maybe I just need to become financially free. How do I do it? Who's looking out? for me?
Hustler
And
University.
that's where Hustleversity enters the picture. So we can see why Hustleversity is on the one hand so popular, despite being so bad. Because otherwise, this whole video is anticlimactic and confusing. Because when I first joined Hustleversity, I thought it's got to be different, right? To have this many people paying every month.
Yeah, it's marketing.
They
They did a good
have to
job
have
of it.
things that you just can't learn for free, right? Right. Once again, I'm disappointed. He assigns a so-called professor to each skill, and all of this takes place inside of Discord servers. And
Wait,
so
what?
in these chat rooms where your instructors have a fraction of the charisma.
You're
of-
paying $50 a month for a fucking Discord. No. I had no idea. I thought it was going to be like actual courses, like a masterclass or something. Even Ninja put more effort into his fucking tutorials. You're paying $50 a month for a Discord. Holy shit, that's worse than being a Discord mod. That's literally being you are paying to be an actual like shit stain on a piece of toilet paper. Oh my god. That's a lot worse than I thought. $50 a month for a Discord channel. That is pay piggy stuff. That is like actual pay piggy stuff. At the very least, you should at least hold Tate to a higher standard. Like, hey man, instead of just a Discord server, why can't we have like, a more professional curriculum like everywhere else?
of Tate.
Well, there's a difference between being desperate and being manipulated. Well, oh no, there's absolutely not. He's manipulating desperate guys. There's different tiers of desperation. There's self-aware desperate people and people who get brainwashed because they're desperate, I would say. Like, you have to be on a different like wavelength to fall for a $50 Discord. Well, $50 a month Discord. Like, not every desperate guy is going to be, scratching at the neck to be part of the Hustler University Discord.
I mean, think about it. You've been told you're going to escape the Matrix. You're going to take the red pill.
And then you go to
What you end
Discord.
up doing in this course is sort of learning how to run an Amazon side hustle for Jeff Bezos. Like, no offense, you're not breaking the Matrix. You work for the richest guy in the world. Like, imagine Morpheus gives Neo the red pill and says, hey, have you ever day traded before? It doesn't stop there either. Like they have this cash quadrant of time and cash where you're either time poor or cash poor, time rich, cash poor, cash rich, time poor. You get the idea. And what they define cash rich as is very telling. They define it as having $5,000, which by that definition, guys,
what?
I'm proud to say I'm cash rich. Now, guys,
Wait, like in total? That is so different from the pitch. I imagine most dudes who buy into this have to have $5,000 total. It's $50 a month. That is such an expensive item. This makes no sense.
the lifestyle we've been sold on here is exotic Bugattis, not extra Starbucks biscottis. I mean, am I crazy here? Like, I feel like most people who joined this Discord
That's what I
want
just said.
olive Lamborghinis, and they're sort of getting Olive Garden fettuccine.
Hustle University is the greatest thing that exists.
That's a good point. I didn't think of that. It's low because he wants people to feel like alphas. That's a really good point. I suppose that's probably like the play. Maybe you get someone who's a little skeptical, like, I'll do $50 1 month and I'll probably cancel, but they join and they're like, oh, I have $5,000. Okay, so I'm cash rich and I'm surrounded by a supportive community. Okay, well, now I feel like I'm part of the crew, part of the ship. So then they stay. Maybe that could be the play, I guess. So then they're not even there for the information. They're there more for the community and the feeling, which is even sadder, to be honest. Yeah, because you can get that same feeling for free. Like, there's always going to be a community of people just like you. Like, you're not special. Whatever your interests are, you're going to find a million people with those interests, and you guys can be friends. Like, and it's free. You just have to find them. You don't have to pay $50 a month for friends. At that point, join a frat.
Unless you consider being cash rich, having $5,000 total in your bank account, then this course doesn't seem to be getting people rich. It just teaches lost guys extremely basic skills that are free to learn, but charges them $50 a month for it so they can feel like they're escaping the Matrix by working for Jeff Bezos. You barely see Tate at all. He claims to be teaching the secrets to modern wealth creation, but the reality is, from what I saw, he was too busy marketing to actually be present in the Discord.
Yeah, I mean,
Instead,
obviously.
you just had all these random people teaching you like e-commerce or freelancing or copywriting and investing. And that's why I decided to finally cancel my plans to become cash rich. And that's when I found out about the last trick Tate uses to get you to stay.
Anyone who messes this up, annoys a professor, doesn't renew their subscription, their card cancels, anything stupid, then you're going to regret it for a very long time because there's simply nowhere else to go.
That's right. They tell you there's nowhere else to go besides Hustlers University. This is the only place
What a shame.
where you're going to learn not to be broke.
I had to unsubscribe to get my mother a birthday present, but I resubscribed the next month. I don't believe that. I don't believe you. And I also think if you were a member of Hustlers University for a month and you didn't make enough money to buy your mother a birthday present, you f***ed up. So you're probably going to end up kicked out.
Like, their two responses are, that's not true.
Okay.
And even if it is, it's your fault anyway.
Who is this guy? I've seen him in a few clips now. All he usually does is put Tate's meat in his mouth. Who is he? Is he like one of the gurus? He teaches you on like cock sucking technique or something for like behind the dumpster transactions? Who is he? It's his brother? Oh, that makes a lot of sense. That makes so much more sense now. Okay, that makes so much sense. This guy only parrots what Tate says, well, like Andrew says, or reinforces it, or says outlandishly stupid shit.
And you have to understand that for the people actually in the course, they're like deathly afraid of missing a payment because they've been told that if they do, guess where they're going? That's right, straight back in the Matrix. In jail, they call it.
We don't kick you out. We put you in the jail, and you sit there in your cell, and you have no access to the money-making information, and we just flood you with all the endless wins. Every time someone wins, we show you.
I mean, Andrew Tate hasn't reinvented anything.
$400
He's just
a month?
doing it more sick, but the result is the same as ever, where the real person getting rich truly rich is Andrew Tate.
You're broke! You're f***ing poor!
Nice. That was pretty insightful. I can't believe it's $50 a month for a Discord server. I don't know why anyone's surprised. I don't know why CoffeeZilla's surprised Andrew Tate was never there. He openly hates the people that buy his program. He literally insults you. It's like a humiliation kink. He openly insults you. It's not tough love. He just actually doesn't like you. You are his pay pig. It's a far cry from tough love. He'll sprinkle in like a couple truths here, like men feel invisible. It's not good to feel invisible. You need to feel better. You can feel better by taking care of yourself first and foremost. It's like, it's kind of true. And it's like $50 a month. And I'll show you how to do some drop shipping, I guess. Oh yeah, I know, the 110,000 students, it's big. No, it's fucking big. Andrew Tate makes $66 million a year from this shit if everyone pays $50 a month. Yeah, no, it's a super successful hustle. He did what all the other alpha males did, but did it smarter by being like a punching bag. Like, obviously he's in on the joke. He knows he says the most outlandish shit, like CoffeeZilla mentions, and then sprinkles in enough truth where people hear about him for being insane. Then they'll hear some truth and be like, maybe I'm gonna check that out. And then they buy into $50 a month. Huge profit. And since you're only paying $50 for a Discord server, it's pure profit. He has no overhead. Maybe he has to pay a couple of the gurus that he got from Fiverr, but that's so negligible. It is straight profit. And there's the MLM component where you get rewarded for recruiting people to Hustlers University. This is an absolute money printing farm on the back of some real desperate sad dudes. And they are brainwashing themselves on Twitter with the most cope I've ever seen. It's fucking genius. It's super smart. He did it exactly how you would, or how you should, if you're trying to make a ton of money with no morals. I'll give you some free advice. Don't get your, life experience online. Don't get your social skills through tutorials on YouTube. Don't make your identity something online. Like your whole personality. The internet's a great resource for information, but you should never base your personality on what people tell you to do. That's the mistake I made in college. When I went in college in my freshman year, I got all of my, social advice from Reddit. And you know what happened in my freshman year of college? My dress wasn't, the biggest problem, but it was pretty bad. I dressed like a fucking anime character, and I acted like a mysterious anime character. I didn't talk to anyone because I was convinced that being mysterious and not being, super open was a cool thing. But instead I scared everyone away from me. I was completely lonely and fucking miserable. There are just things you can't be taught by people online or communities online. I don't even remember what came over me, but going into my sophomore year, I recognized how miserable I was, and I was like, something's gotta change. I mean, something's gotta give here. So, going into my sophomore year of college, I signed up to room with random people. I was like, I need to be on campus, I need to be around social people, I need to experience life from outside of the computer and what they tell me. So I got random roommates, and they turned out to be the popular kids around campus for the most part, so they took me under their wing. I was their clay and they were the sculptor. I learned all of my social skills through them like a sponge. In the late 90s, a very popular Japanese game show tortured a man for a year and broadcast it every Sunday night. This isn't like reality TV where it's all fake and scripted, not to ruin Christmas for all the believers out there. This was legitimately torturing another human being for the sake of entertainment. And it was extremely popular, averaging 17 million viewers every Sunday night that they'd play the clips. That's absolutely massive even by today's standards. It's more viewers than the last 4 years of the NBA Finals and the World Series. And obviously more than most television shows get. For reference, The Boys season premiere got around 8 million viewers, and according to YouTuber Atrocity Guide, who also covered this story, the most viewed episode of Game of Thrones got around 16 million viewers, so it even beats that. Just an absolutely massive success, but it doesn't stop there. The producers knew there was still a little milk left in those teats and they wanted to suckle. So they actually turned it from just a weekly broadcast into a full-blown live stream where you could log on online and watch him suffer in real time. So whenever you were just feeling particularly quirky, you could hop in there and watch a man be miserably tortured for the better part of a year. Doesn't that sound like fun? What a great way of starting the day. A nice bowl of cereal and milk for breakfast and watching a man's sanity slowly deteriorate as he dances around naked in absolute agony. Wonderful. This is the story of Nasubi. As I briefly mentioned, another YouTube channel named Atrocity Guide made a great video on this topic, but I wanted to go even deeper. So we, Caleb, Chelsea, and I, really did a fucking thorough deep dive, spreading the foul cheeks of this situation wide open, going through live streams, all of the broadcast clips, in order to really get a handle on just how vile this whole thing was. So let's begin. In 1998, a popular Japanese game show named Susanoo Dimpa Shonen held a raffle to find their next contestant for an upcoming show they were working on called A Life of Prizes. Nasubi ended up winning the lottery and was ecstatic. He believed this was going to be a big break for him since he was also an up-and-coming comedian, and he was escorted to a small apartment where he was then instructed to take off all of his clothes in order to participate in the game. The challenge was he would have to survive in this apartment on nothing but his winnings from sweepstakes. They only provided him with water, and he was told that he would not be allowed to leave or communicate with the outside world or have any access to anything that he didn't directly earn through magazine sweepstakes. He was told that he'd need to win 1 million yen, which at the time, 1998, was right around 8,000 US dollars, through only mail-in magazine sweepstakes in order to complete the challenge and be released from the room. And yes, this does include food. They didn't provide him with any food. The only food he'd have access to is the food that he earns through mail-in sweepstakes. It just feels like there were better odds of a bird carrying $10,000 in its mouth crashing through the apartment window than actually earning 10 grand through mail-in sweepstakes. This shit is like something you would actually hear of like fucked up prison guards at Guantanamo Bay doing as like a joke or something. It's so cruel and brutally difficult. But Nasubi did actually pull it off. It took Nasubi 335 days total to finally make enough money to be released from it. Or at least, so you'd think. This is actually only the tip of the iceberg here, but I just want to give you the story in a nutshell. And I also want to explain the name Nasubi, because that's not actually the contestant's real name. His actual name is Tomoaki Hamatsu. The name Nasubi actually means eggplant, and he got this because the producers used an eggplant to censor his genitals for the broadcast, and they also said that his head resembled the shape of an eggplant. The whole point of the Susanoo Dimpa Shonen broadcast here was to laugh at Nasubi, and people were. 17 million people having an old hoot and a holler, real side-splitting comedy, watching a man be legitimately tortured. Nasubi believed that he was being recorded and that the clips were going to be re-edited and broadcast for TV. So he would come in and like update people on what he's doing, like, I just won this can of cat food, I just won this bicycle, and then he'd like dance around and try and make it entertaining, but he never knew that he was being live streamed the whole time. He was under the impression that it was just going to be moments from the challenge. Not that every excruciating second of this challenge was being broadcast to all of Japan. Extremely fucked situation, and this is just the bare outline of it. What I want to do for this video is actually go through a lot of clips and moments from this live stream and the broadcast, as well as just everything surrounding it, because it is so baffling. It is bizarre that this actually happened. I remember Vsauce did a video on what happens to the mind when you're cut off from stimulation in the outside world for an extended period of time. And unsurprisingly, it is so psychologically damaging to be completely alone and isolated like Nasubi was. And Vsauce only did like a few days. Nasubi did over a year, 15 months total.
なんと
脱いで書いていると
はい。
誰かが来た、
はい
宅急便、
やった来た第1号
気分フードケミファさんのファイバーゼリー12個入りでございます。
いただきます。
This was Nasubi's first big win, a fat dubski. He was able to secure 12 pots of fiber jelly. I don't know what the fuck fiber jelly is. I've never heard of it in my life. That sounds like a made-up substance in the movie Snowpiercer, but It was huge for Nasubi because it's his first bit of food since this started, so he was extremely hungry and was able to get some nutrients. This wasn't the first thing he applied for, though. The first sweepstakes he was entering were for clothing items. He wanted to cover up, obviously, because being naked is going to be cold, uncomfortable, especially since it's being filmed. So he had applied for an apron first, but he didn't win.
やった!また何か当たったんだ。
はい。お名前がすみませんと思いまして。あ、はい、わかりました。はい。
当選か？
ラーメン。
全部で1700円になります。すいません、間違えました。
Obviously, since Nasubi was trapped in isolation, cut off from the rest of the world, he cherished every single knock at that door. It was the only bit of human interaction he gets. So he'd get excited, and of course, he's expecting to win something, since why else would someone be